Hi everybody and welcome to my Unruly Housewife channel. Recently I made this cross and quite a lot of people liked it, so today I thought I would show you how I made it and yeah, we can have a little bit of fun. It was made with black clay covered with some gold perfect pearls to get this finish. In fact, the back I was kind of messing around and it's silver but today I'm not going to use black clay and gold. I'm going to use bit of brown scrap and some perfect copper. These tiles that are set into it are glitter tiles, and these are blue, but I'm using more sort of turquoise ones today. And I mean, really, you could use this technique to inset cabochons or, you know, other things like that. You don't have to have the square tiles, but they are pretty. So let's get on. Here's my brown scrap clay, and it's cut out on it's rolled out on number 3 on my pasta machine. I'm going to texture the back with this, which is a core roller, but you could use other methods of texturing according to what you want for your project. I'm going to press really hard and I'm going to roll it a really long way, so I want to make sure I've got enough. That will do. And I'm going to turn my tile around because I've done it a bit upside down. Okay, and here's my cross. Now, for the cross, I made a paper template, and it's kind of 4 down, 3 across is a good balanced size for it. And because it's on squared paper, I'll be able to find the centres and things later on to cut out my holes for the tiles. So just lay this on here. And I'm going to push it down slightly so that it sticks, and then I will be able to cut out the cross shape. And I'm using a very straight blade. I found one of my thicker straight blades had actually got a little bit bent from me using it so much, so I've gone to this one. I'm just going to cut this out. I'm going to have to do it this way. I've put my tripod too near to where I'm working. I actually couldn't do that. Okay, so let's peel these off and see what we've got. That looks absolutely fine. I moved it a tiny bit at the top there. And now I've got this the shape that I want it, and I'm not going to move it. So my plan now is to put on my perfect pearls, perfect copper, and we're just going to lightly run that over the back, make sure there's not too much on it. If you do use mica powders, it's good to wear a mask if you're not talking on a video, because powder can get into your lungs, or at least in my case make your nose sore, so it's a good idea to wear a mask, is what I'm saying. And because I'm using my finger, hopefully it won't go down in all of the pattern, so it will just highlight the top. This is only the back of the cross, but if it looks nice, it'll be better for us. Careful not to press too hard with it. Okay, that looks fine to me. And I'll show that to you. Move this out of the way. Right, so here we are with slightly grubby tile, and I'm now going to put that in the oven. It's nice and flat, stuck to the tile. I'll put it in the oven for 15 minutes at the manufacturer's recommended temperature for baking, and then that will be solidly set so that I can build around it. It'll give me a nice solid foundation for the rest of my make. I'm back from the oven, and as you can see I have baked that back of the cross, so let's just remove that from the tile. It's come out really nicely, and while it was in the oven I prepared a couple of other things. I made this, which is from the same template, but the clay is rolled out on 0 on my pasta machine, so it's the thickest setting on my pasta machine, which is an Atlas 150 if I haven't mentioned it. And I've also extruded a load of clay in that kind of slot design on my Makins extruder. Now if you don't have an extruder, I can't say it, but if you don't have an extruder, you could perhaps twist together some snakes of clay to make a kind of rope to put around the edge. There's lots of different edgings you could do, but I'm using the extruded one. Okay, we need to marry these two together, the baked and the not baked. And for that I'm going to use liquid Fimo, because I'm using Fimo. This is kind of, it's scrap clay, but it's mostly Fimo Professional. You could use translucent liquid Sculpey or Bake and Bond, something like that. Something that will make them bake and join together. And then I pop this on top. And once it's on top, I want to square it up to make sure that it's going to fit together before I put my edging on. That seems great. I'm not going to fuss too much because I've got to cut some holes out and that might disturb it. Now this template can now go on top, and where the squares meet in the middle, I'm going to make a hole with this needle tool, and that will tell me where to cut out. Oops, if I do it in the right place, that will tell me where to cut out my squares. I'm extremely fortunate because I have a square cutter that matches with my tiles, and here are my tiles, so you can see that's kind of the right size. If you don't have a cutter that fits with your inclusions that you want to put in your cross, well, you may have to lay them on top and cut around them or something, but I'm sure you'll work it out. Now I'm just going to cut these out. I'm not probably going to do it as carefully as I would where you're not waiting. But the beauty of this is that when I cut them out, they're going to stop at exactly the right depth. There's that baked piece sitting on the back. And the reason I chose to roll this out on 0 is because it just fits them, seats them nicely, but leaves them sticking up a little bit, which is what I want. So let me carry on and do these. Now that they're all cut out, the cabochons can go in, and probably if I'd taken more time they'd have been straighter, but that's fine. The liquid Sculpey will help to settle the cabochons down, and I can push in these pieces because obviously they're sort of bulging out now from the cutter. I can push in the clay and that will help to hold these cabochons in place, or glass tiles. You get what I mean. Now that it is all squared up, I can add my extruded part. And I'm going to start at a bottom corner on the cross because that's a good place to hide my join. Of course the whole thing's going to be embellished with flowers and leaves and other things, so the join will probably be under something anyway, if I want it to be, or if you want it to be. Once I get to the final corner, I just trim it with my knife and marry it up with where I started. That's not too bad. And then just go around and give everything an extra bit of a squash, extra bit of a tweak. And because we have that pre-baked piece at the bottom, it helps us to control the shape fairly easily. Right, in reality I would be playing with that for hours, but let's crack on. I now want to cover the outside edges of this with perfect pearls in my copper colour. Probably my finger is quite a good way to do this. Because it sort of smooths it on and burnishes it a bit. Oops, got a little bit too much there. And then in the corners I can use a brush. Depends what you're most comfortable doing, really. I'm trying to hold this by the cabochons just lightly, so that I'm not squishing clay. I'm going to bake that on some paper because of this these pearls on the back. Not to get the perfect pearls down the crack there, just shut it all in. Although the back is baked a little, the main majority of the sides are raw, so I'm pretty sure that this is going to stay in place. If I had any doubts, I could always pop a bit of liquid clay into the join. But like I say, the main part of the cross is raw. Having done the sides, I'll now take my brush, and what I want to do is just take this in a little bit around here. I don't want to go all the way to the middle because I'll be putting embellishments on there, and I quite like the dark bit, and I don't want it to interfere with the adhesion. Okay, so I've got perfect pearls, perfect copper around here, around the edges, and on those little raw edges on the back. Copper, I'm going to make a little gap here at the top because I have to add a bail. I'm going to make my bail, let's just tidy this up a little. I'm going to make my bail from a little roll of clay. Now I have the roll of clay, what I'm going to do is wind it around this. Now you obviously would use whatever is the leaves the thickness of hole that you wanted. But for me, I want this thickness, and the thing I'm using is actually a middle of a pen. Oh dear, I'm mad. Anyway, once you've done that, you can take it off, And now I'm going to add that to there. Now it might have been an idea for me to think about this before I put the Perfect Pearls on, I'll admit that, but I didn't. So here it is, and I want to add it just by pressing it on there. Oops. And I'm going to use my original template to make sure that it's in the middle when I pressed it on. So I'm going to kind of press it there. I'm not going to keep it the round shape so much as make a sort of dome with it, so that it bites on. So let's put that there. I'll use this tool to push it in place. Can be pretty firm with it. I'm just going to lay it on the template and see, does it look as if it's in the middle? And yeah, I think that's probably pretty good. So just give it another shove. Technical term there. Another push. Make sure that the hole is clear, which it is. Oops, there. And I'm now going to cover this with Perfect Pearls. Excuse me. So that it matches in with the rest. I'm going to take care not to get too much powder between the join there. Just maybe touch up the gaps there. Okay, there's my bail. Well, I hurried through it, but there's my bail, there's my cross, and I can now put that back in the oven and bake it, and then we'll move on to the embellishments. And we're back from the oven. Here we are. This is the cross. It's looking really good. I'll show you the back there. It's all come out nicely. The old Perfect Pearls are baked on, so that's great. The glass tiles are pretty much fixed in there, but we're going to put stuff over them too, so they'll definitely be held in place. They are actually glitter tiles from Mosaic Supplies Limited, which is a UK company, but they do post abroad, so do check them out. I think it's mosaicsupplies.co.uk, but there'll be a link down in the description below. So let me now put this down. What we're going to do is embellish this. Now if you look at this cross, you can see it's got lots and lots of embellishments on it, and they're sort of leaves and flowers, and I hope that's in focus. Leaves, flowers, little seed pods, little twisty stems and things, and that's what we're going to do now. So I've cut some out already and started to prepare them, but I'll show you what I did. So for instance, I've cut these out with these small Kemper cutters, I think they're called, and they're little poppy outy things. And this is rolled out number 3 on the pasta machine again, which is a thin setting in case your pasta machine is different. I've got an Atlas 150, so that's a thin setting. And what I did was just made a line in the middle of the leaf, and then using a tool I made some little veins in it like that. I've got a very exciting video that should be going live on May the 9th, which is a collab, and some of these skills are going to be used in that, so pay attention. It's going to be really fun. Anyway, so that's the sort of leaf that I made. Hopefully that's in focus. And I made a few of those, and I've made some little flowers which I cut out with this one, obviously the little flower one. And what I'm going to do with those is when I put them onto my cross, I'm going to make a little dot in the middle with that little hole, and I'm going to pop one of these little balls of clay into it. So they're all just made out of the normal clay that I used for the rest of the cross. So what do we need? Well, we need some liquid clay because we want to glue these on and create a bond between this fresh clay and the part baked. It's already there. Oh, I've put it off camera now, but take my word for it. I've got a blob of liquid clay there, and I'll probably just look at this cross a bit to give me ideas because I want to go quickly. So I will do a rolly little stem, And what I did when I did this one, I'm not going to copy it exactly, was I chose an area. So I might choose some liquid clay on the brush and choose this area here, put liquid clay over it, and then think about what I'm going to add. Now I like the order of twisty stems first, and remember, you know, keep everything proportional. You don't want huge things on a tiny cross or whatever, do you? Just get a hair in it. So I might put that down there like that, and just sort of lean it up against the tile so that it's going over it a little bit. A bit of a bend on it. You'll want to do your own thing obviously with all this. And then I will put some leaves on top of it. So this is the order, the preferred order for me that looks nice is stem and then some leaves. And put a bit of it, make a bit of a gap there actually, so that not everything is on top of each other. And then on top of that, flower. I'm going to move that leaf over a little because I don't want the flower to be, I don't want 3 thicknesses if I can help it. So there's the flower. Now I'll make my little dent, which helps to push it all down, and I'll put the centre of the flower in there. I hope you can see what I did there. I'll just flatten my flower down a bit before I put the middle in. I'll have a look at it from all angles. That's okay, that's not sticking up too high. Let me just check. And so that would look like that. And I would just go on, and what I'll try to do with these is I'll try and cover up some of these edges. I'll try and catch over some of the tiles a little bit. They're just going to pull everything together, and then once I've done that I will be able to add my perfect pearls. Now I want to put another leaf here, but I don't necessarily, let's make sure I've got some liquid clay under it, I don't necessarily want to put another flower or something there. So say if I put this leaf here, I end up with a kind of a gap there, and what I can do in that gap is just put some little balls of clay in there and make the little seed pods that fill up the gaps. The little round seed pods. They're effective at filling in the decoration if you can get them to come off your finger. I'll probably use this. Let's make a dot in the middle. So the little seed pods can go in there and they will fill up the gaps. And again, you can get them to go over the tile slightly if you want to, or to nudge up against it. I hope you can see what I've done there. And I'm going to do that for the whole cross, like this one. But you don't want to sit through that. So what I'm going to do right now is just show you how that looks when I dot this onto it, the perfect pearls onto it. And we'll just do this with the copper on here. I mean, you don't have to necessarily put on this much decoration. You'll want to do it your own way. Whoops, I moved that with that. Obviously I'd rather have done the whole thing before adding this, but this is a demonstration. And there you can see how nice that looks. And once I cover the whole thing with it, I can then bake it in the oven. I will bake this at the recommended, manufacturer's recommended temperature for the time that they recommend, or possibly even a tiny bit longer. I might do this for say 45 minutes, and then I will varnish it with this, which is Americana Duraclear Gloss Varnish. But there are lots of different varnishes you could use. In America there's more of a choice. So if you look on the blue bottle tray, that she gives a Ginger there, she gives lots of great advice about which varnishes to use, or you might be able to use the one that goes with your brand of clay. So I might use the Fimo Gloss Varnish or whatever. But anyway, I'm going to pop this in the oven once it's finished, and then I'll bring it back and show it to you. And here we are at last with the finished cross, and I think it's come out really nicely. I really like the colour of the copper. I haven't sealed it yet, varnished it yet, but I think it works really well with the turquoise. If you have any comments or questions, do leave them down below. If you enjoyed this video, you might consider subscribing to my channel, and do hit that like button if you liked it. Share it with your friends if you want to. I love you all. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.